Have you noticed the golden drinks taking over social media? People heating up milk and stirring in a spoonful of bright yellow powder, a pinch of black pepper, and calling it their daily wellness ritual. Cafes now sell golden lattes at premium prices, and a lot of people watching those videos are asking the same question. What is that thing? And does it actually do anything? The answer is two ingredients that have probably been sitting in your kitchen this whole time: turmeric and black pepper. And here's what makes them interesting. They are not two random wellness ingredients that got paired by a marketing team. They are a chemistry lesson. One of them contains a molecule your body is almost designed to waste, and the other contains a molecule that essentially stops your body from wasting it. Why that pairing matters for what people now call inner wellness is what this video is about. Now, I want to be honest with you right from the start. This is not going to be one of those videos where someone tells you turmeric will transform your life and then cuts to a supplement ad. I find that kind of content genuinely frustrating, because the actual science here is far more interesting than the hype, and the hype usually gets the science backwards anyway. What I want to do today is walk you through the real chemistry of these two spices, what curcumin actually is, why your body struggles to absorb it, what black pepper actually does to fix that, and then, based on all of it, why this particular pair has become one of the most researched food combinations in the wellness world. By the end, the hype will either make sense to you or fall apart in front of you. Let's start with the older of the two characters. Turmeric is the underground stem of a plant called Curcuma longa, and it has been part of human life for a remarkably long time. Records of turmeric use go back more than 4,000 years in South Asia. Around 500 years before the Common Era, it became an important part of Ayurvedic medicine. And it was never just medicine. It was food. It was dye. It was part of ceremony. It colored everything it touched. Black pepper, its partner, sits on nearly every table on the planet. And for centuries, it shaped trade routes and fortunes. So, these two have been cooked together for thousands of years, mostly because they taste good together. What nobody realized until recently is that their chemistry goes far deeper than flavor. The molecule everyone cares about in turmeric is called curcumin. It's the pigment that gives the powder its yellow color, part of a plant compound family called polyphenols. And here's the first number you need to know. Turmeric powder is only about 3% curcumin by weight. The range is roughly 3 to 8%, so a single teaspoon of turmeric contains somewhere around 30 to 90 milligrams of curcumin. That's a small dose. Keep that number. It becomes important later. Researchers who study curcumin love it and hate it for the same reason. In cell studies and animal studies, curcumin shows an enormous range of biological activity. It interacts with inflammatory signaling pathways. It acts as an antioxidant. There are tens of thousands of papers on this one molecule. But there's a catch that changes how you should read all of those papers. And it's a big one. When you swallow curcumin, your body does everything it can to get rid of it. This is the part most people never hear about. Curcumin is poorly absorbed in the intestine. What little does get absorbed is rapidly attacked by enzymes in your gut wall and your liver, a chemical cleanup process called glucuronidation that tags the compound for disposal. And whatever survives that gets pumped right back out of your cells by transport proteins designed to keep foreign molecules out. The result is brutal. In human studies, even large oral doses of curcumin produce extremely low levels in the bloodstream. The compound has what researchers politely call poor bioavailability. It's not that curcumin does nothing. It's that most of it never gets the chance to do anything. Think of it like this: a letter that every mailbox between you and the recipient stamps "Return to sender." The letter is important. It just never gets read. For decades, that was the curcumin problem. A molecule full of promise, and a body professionally trained to eject it. And then along comes black pepper. Specifically, a compound in black pepper called piperine, the alkaloid responsible for pepper's heat. Piperine is not just a flavor molecule. It is one of the most interesting natural compounds in existence, because it is a bioavailability enhancer. It can inhibit the very enzymes that break other compounds down and block the transport proteins that pump them out of your cells. In other words, Piperine walks down that mail route and starts removing the return to sender stamps. Now, this is where the story gets specific, because there's a landmark study that this entire turmeric and pepper pairing rests on. In 1998, a team led by G. Shoba, publishing in the journal Planta Medica, gave human volunteers curcumin alone, and then curcumin combined with piperine. The results were striking. Piperine increased the bioavailability of curcumin by about 154% in rats, and by roughly 2,000% in humans. 2,000%. That single paper has now been cited thousands of times. It is one of the foundational studies in this field, and nearly every curcumin supplement that includes piperine traces its logic back to it. But I want to be careful about what that number does and doesn't mean, because this is where hype tends to take over. A 2,000% increase in absorption sounds like a miracle. What it means, more precisely, is that a compound your body was wasting now actually makes it into circulation. It means the molecule gets its chance to be read. It does not automatically mean the molecule cures or treats anything. Absorption is the beginning of the story, not the end. And that's the thing I genuinely love about this particular pair. The logic is so clean. Curcumin is also fat-soluble, meaning it dissolves in fat rather than water. So, when people make golden milk turmeric and black pepper stirred into warm milk, they're not just making a cozy drink. They're combining three genuinely useful elements: a compound with real biological activity, an agent that prevents its rapid breakdown, and a fat to dissolve it in. Every element of this blend, including how it's prepared, is working toward the same goal: getting the curcumin where it needs to go. So why is this suddenly everywhere? Why are people drinking it daily and calling it inner wellness? Let's talk about the gut, because that's where the most interesting research has been pointing. Here's a fact you probably didn't expect. Trillions of bacteria live in your digestive tract, and they are not passive passengers. They are actively communicating with your immune system all day long. And one of the most fascinating threads in curcumin research is that the compound interacts directly with this microbial community. Studies have found that curcumin supplementation can shift the composition of the gut microbiome, and reviews report that it tends to favor beneficial bacterial strains. Some researchers now suspect that a meaningful part of curcumin's anti-inflammatory effects actually runs through the gut microbiome rather than the bloodstream. One of the most exciting open questions in this field right now. But here's the honest part. Some very recent clinical work with high doses of curcumin in people with inflammatory gut conditions found that the microbial changes didn't always last. Once supplementation stopped, the community bounced back. The human microbiome is stubbornly resilient. That doesn't mean the research is wrong. It means the story is not settled. Now, the other big reason people drink this daily is the inflammation angle. The part with the most human data. Inflammation is a normal, necessary process. It's how the body repairs damage. But when inflammatory signaling stays switched on over the long term, it's associated with a long list of problems nobody wants. And one of the most consistent findings in curcumin research is its effect on inflammatory markers in the blood. A 2023 meta-analysis, pooling 66 randomized controlled trials, found that turmeric and curcumin supplementation significantly reduced levels of inflammatory markers, including C-reactive protein, one of the most commonly measured markers in medicine. That's not a single study, that's an aggregate of trials. And it's exactly the kind of pattern researchers take seriously. There's also a substantial body of research on joints. Multiple randomized trials and meta-analyses have compared curcumin with placebo in knee osteoarthritis. And the consistent finding is that curcumin reduced pain scores better than placebo in several analyses, comparably to standard non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. I want to be careful here. Those studies use specific extracts and specific doses, usually far higher than anything you'd get from a teaspoon of powder in a drink, and the results don't apply to every person or every condition. But this is the evidence base the trend is built on. And that evidence base is why you now see turmeric lattes everywhere. The golden milk trend exploded around 2016, with cafes from Sydney to San Francisco putting turmeric lattes on their menus. It has since grown into a full product category, with industry estimates putting the golden milk market somewhere in the billions. Turmeric shots, teas, gummies, everything. Now, here's the irony worth knowing. A lot of those cafe lattes are barely turmeric at all. They're milk, sweetener, a whisper of yellow powder, and a premium price. What most people are paying for is the idea of the thing. Meanwhile, the real chemistry, the part that makes the pair interesting, is cheap and sitting in your spice rack. Which raises the obvious question. If the research is real, what's the honest version of this habit? So, let's put it together plainly. The two-ingredient blend people are drinking is turmeric and black pepper, usually in warm milk or warm water. The logic, based on everything we covered. Curcumin is a biologically active compound with genuinely poor absorption. Piperine dramatically improves that absorption, and a fat source like milk improves it further. Prepared this way, you get more of the active compound into your body than turmeric alone would deliver precisely where the studies suggest the benefits come from. But the honest middle is that this habit is not magic. A daily drink is not the same as a high-dose supplement, and the studies that show effects tend to use concentrated extracts, not food powder. This blend sits in the food category, and it should be thought of that way. A reasonable, evidence-informed addition to a normal diet, not a replacement for one, and definitely not a treatment for anything. If someone tells you turmeric cures a disease, they are selling you something. The research does not say that. And there's one more thing worth knowing, because it's real and it doesn't get talked about enough. Piperine's ability to change how compounds are processed in your body is powerful, and that power has a flip side. Because piperine inhibits certain drug metabolizing enzymes, it can alter how quickly some medications are broken down. Researchers have documented interactions with blood-thinning medications, in particular. And I say this carefully, because I'm not a medical professional, and this is educational information, not advice if you take prescription medication, especially blood thinners. This is a conversation worth having with your doctor or pharmacist before making turmeric a daily habit. A food question like this is exactly what they're there for. Let me close with something I think is worth sitting with. Wellness trends move in a cycle that almost feels biological. Something ancient gets rediscovered, inflated, commercialized, and abandoned. What's unusual about turmeric and black pepper is that the core claim has been tested, not by influencers, by researchers, in peer-reviewed journals. For decades, the 1998 bioavailability study, the meta-analyses on inflammatory markers, the clinical trials on joints. This is one of the few wellness pairings with real, repeated human data behind it. And underneath all of that, it's really a story about one of the simplest ideas in biology. Everything you eat gets filtered through your body's own rules of absorption and metabolism. The yellow molecule and the hot molecule found each other thousands of years ago in a spice blend, long before anyone knew their chemistry. Now we know why they work together. The tradition was right, and now we have the mechanism. That's the rare combination. Ancient practice and modern lab agreeing with each other. So whether you try the daily blend or not, the real takeaway is the mechanism. Know why a thing works, and you stop being a target for the next overpriced version of it. That's the kind of knowledge that actually sticks. If this video helped you see turmeric and black pepper a little differently, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And if you want, leave a comment telling me which part surprised you the most. The 2000% number, the gut connection, or the medication interactions. I read all of them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.